Da 170 anni noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti investiamo il risparmio degli italiani nel domani del Paese. Noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti siamo con l'Italia, oggi più che mai.
Ehi, impara dal passato. Decidi dove andare. Apri quella porta. Accendi il tuo motore. Allaccia la cintura. Stringiti al volante. E vieni via con me.
Da 170 anni noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti investiamo il risparmio degli italiani nel domani del Paese. Noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti siamo con l'Italia, oggi più che mai.
Ehi, impara dal passato. Decidi dove andare. Apri quella porta. Accendi il tuo motore. Allaccia la cintura. Stringiti al volante. E vieni via con me.
Buongiorno, benvenuti a tutti.
Good afternoon. Welcome to you all, those following us from a distance in Italy and abroad, and those present today. We are now celebrating our second day of the meeting, and this session is devoted to sustainability and subsidiarity. We'll continue until the end of the week with everyday meetings. I would like to greet our guests. We start from Paolo Vestrucci, CEO of Nier. I would like to thank him for being here in person. I would like to thank our guests connected. I would like to welcome Mr. Marco Brun. He's there. Good afternoon. I would like to greet Massimo Bruno, the head of sustainability and institutional affairs of Enel Italy. And I would like to greet Ermete Realacci, the president of the Symbola Foundation. Good afternoon, Ermete. Ermete is also devoting a specific color of his T-shirt, green, as the title of our meeting. I will only make a few remarks. We wanted to devote a series of meetings on the subsidiarity and sustainability. This is not the first time we talk about this kind of topic. Of course, these are topical issues today, and they emerge increasingly frequently in the everyday debate. We have the opportunity to have an in-depth analysis of what we are talking about, because in some cases these topics are misunderstood or they are only dealt with partially. I am grateful to all our guests, both in person and connected with us. They are the most suitable people to have an in-depth analysis. The title is Green Economy, Green Welfare. I would like to leave the floor to Ermete Realacci, the president of the Symbola Foundation. Ermete Realacci has always dealt with this kind of issues, in particular with the Symbola Foundation. Along with the Uniocamere, they've drafted several reports on these topics. I would like to ask Ermete to help us have an in-depth analysis of this topic. I would like to know what elements we need to tackle, and I would like to understand with you from today's dialogue how it is possible to move from words to facts and to analyze the reality with greater attention. The title of the meeting of this year is Deprived of Wonder, We Remain Deaf to the Sublime, and I believe that these aspects also have to do with the title of this year's meeting. It is always a pleasure for me. It's not the first time I take part in the meeting, and hopefully it will not be the last. To come to the topic of wonder, one of the key aspects is trying to have a look at the world and our country in particular with different eyes. We Italians are able to focus on the evil, on the negative aspects. We are not always able to see our strengths. When we talk about the green economy, and then I will say something more specific about energy, we are actually talking about something, well, as you said, with Uniocamere, we carry out a census of the Italian companies dealing with green economy. This is a census which yields important results. Roughly, over the last 5 years, 1/3 of manufacturing companies in Italy, overall we're talking about 432,000 companies making investments which are related with the environment, energy savings, material recovery, the innovation of processes and products. These companies, as of today, are already in the vanguard when it comes to the system of Italian enterprises. They are enterprises which export the most, and this is a reality which is not always tackled. But actually, if we look around us, the green economy, which in Italy also means innovation, beauty and design, is already one of the most significant strengths of our productive supply chains. I can make you some examples. I can give you some examples. You are perfectly aware of them. I will just mention one aspect. A few people know that our country is one of the leading countries when it comes to circular economy, not because of our law. In some cases, we've approved advanced provisions and advanced laws, but it's inherent in the productive system of Italy. We had to learn how to use renewable energy sources, namely the intelligence of man. And this enables us to recover double the amount of raw materials vis-à-vis other European countries. And this process is taking place in all sectors, and it leads us to save 21 million tons equivalent of oil. So this is an important part of the Italian economy, and it is far-reaching. It refers to all sectors. It happens in the production of ceramics, agriculture, mechatronics. If we have a look at these sectors, we can discover that Italy has always recorded best performances vis-à-vis the other countries. I'd like to mention that one of the strongest sectors in Italy is the building of attractions for the amusement parks, carousels, for instance. Our carousels always win, so to say, because they are more beautiful than those of the competitors, but also because they consume less energy than the same carousels manufactured by other companies. This is one of pathway which enables Italy to be more competitive, for instance, vis-à-vis the carousel manufacturers of Germany. So this is a dynamic which may help us in this phase as well. If we are to exit the crisis, it is necessary for us to change our way to read the reality. We should start from what we already have. At times, I am quite surprised when I listen to the debate about these topics in Italy. When it comes to the pandemic, I believe that Italy behaved better than many other countries. We've obtained excellent results, and we obtained lots of resources, but Italy is not so determined when it comes to using these resources. Europe set out that we need to invest this money in a transition towards a Green New Deal, health and healthcare systems, and the digital aspects. But I do not see that the debate is really focusing on these aspects. Minister De Micheli stated that she would send the project of the tunnel under the Messina Strait to be connected with the Recovery Fund. But that project specifically has nothing to do with the European directives and with the Recovery Fund. And it has no possibilities to be implemented, to be completed, because it is very costly and cannot be financed by the Recovery Fund. When it comes to the energy sector, well, this is a fundamental sector, and here too we have many strengths. I consider Enel a strength for the country. Enel has changed a lot over the last few years. Today, the market is quite fragmented, and Enel accepted the task of zeroing the emissions of CO2 by 2050. It is a very difficult aim to be obtained by an energy related company, but it is quite a challenge. I believe that Enel committed to install 50,000 megawatts by 2030, extraction amounting to 40%. That's the direction we need to move to. But we need to be aware of the fact that the world is moving. Nothing will come for granted or for free. But I would like to make a couple of examples. Let's think about the nuclear energy. For many years, we had many politicians. I do not want to make any distinction when it comes to the nuclear energy. Many politicians have always stated that we were unlucky because we didn't have any nuclear energy producing company. But now the nuclear energy has virtually died. Ivano Fossati stated that ideas simply die without even greeting us, without even saying goodbye. And electricity in France would be changed with Enel. This is not a simple dynamic. There are many differences in the various countries of the world. However, this kind of activity creates wealth in many sectors. Let's think about the transition we should make towards a Green New Deal. Let's talk about the coal. Coal is an issue. Well, President Trump, focused the past electoral campaigns, focusing on the relaunch of the coal, of the U.S. coal industry. And there are lots of protests against this kind of trend, this kind of aim. You can find many videos of many protests on the internet. Many many people oppose Trump because he wants to relaunch the production of coal in the US. So maybe he preceded us. However, the consumption of coal has decreased a lot in the United States. 50 coal-fueled plants closed in the US, and all the electrical energy producing plants in the US were fed by a specific source of energy. The US, the Americans are very pragmatic. If a renewable source of energy is cheaper, they would use it. So in Italy, we have resources and technologies to be the key players in this kind of challenge. I would like to add that this is a challenge which can give us more strength and more charisma. Europe can get out of the crisis by focusing on, for instance, on this relation between subsidiarity and sustainability. And in this respect, Italy has a lot to say. Thank you very much, Ermete. I will now go on. Well, as usual, Ermete Realacci always combines important aspects with pragmatism and with other aspects we need to dwell on. So one of the provocations by Ermete Realacci is that of reading reality, starting from where we are today. I would like to ask Massimo Bruno to provide his contribution. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can hear well. I would like to greet, first of all, all the participants to this important meeting. And I would like to thank you for having me here, because I believe that the meeting, because of its history and credibility, is the proper place to talk seriously, as well as in an understandable way, of complex issues. Today, we talk a lot about green economy, transition towards the green economy. We talk a lot about a circular economy on the social media and elsewhere. And this is quite a positive aspect. However, we need to avoid the temptation of thinking that these are simple topics. And we need to avoid thinking that the solution of the problems is entailed in the fact that you can turn on or turn off a switch in order to go through this important transition. So thank you for the opportunity you're giving me. As Ermete reminded us, I believe we are beginning to witness one of the worst crises since the Second World War. But as all the crises, and the etymology of the word crisis teaches us that each crisis is also a moment of decision. It is a strong moment to make a decision, and it represents both a danger and an opportunity. When I talk about strong decisions, I think that this is the right time to think about a shared future, a shared vision. We should have a common idea of a country moving towards a common objective. This is the first problem and the most important problem. Unfortunately, we lack a common view, a common vision of the future. And as Mr. Mario Draghi said yesterday, the result is that we have a sort of collective selfishness. We lose sight of the main goal of any good policy, namely the common good. And then we have long-standing issues that still need to be solved in Italy, and the recent coronavirus crisis highlighted. And I'm referring to bureaucracy, red tape, complexity, the certain or uncertain timing of things, and the lack of respect for decisions made, because one doesn't want to become unpopular. And hence, we need to face several issues. First of all, solving the many problems which have been curbing the development of the country. Energy is crucial for the development of any economy, of any country, and this this became clear during the lockdown period. With energy, we managed to live in our households, to be connected, to have hospitals function properly. Without energy, isolation would have meant a leap backwards to the past eras. Just think about the fact that the energy didn't exist during the lockdown. The energy will play a greater role in the future. But we need to be certain about one aspect. Pandemic must not be an excuse to slow down energy transition. Today, more than in the past, it is necessary for us to speed up this process. And I would like to remind you about what the Holy Father said last year to the top managers of some energy companies. First of all, the Holy Father said, we are running short of time. We need to stop exploring what may be done. We should start to focus on what we need to do, starting from now. And then secondly, he said, beware about the management of the employment-related impact of a low-carbon society. If it is managed properly, it may lead to new opportunities. If it is not properly managed, it may lead to problems and to dangers. As Ermete said earlier, the Shell Group has supported the conclusions of the COP21 convention in 2015, and we focused on the carbon neutral society by 2050. We've set up a new division which is pushing a lot on renewable sources. In Italy, just to give you an idea, we are among the leaders when it comes to the loading columns. We have about 170 loading points in Europe. We are very active in the household accumulation of energy and in photovoltaic production. However, coming back to the Italian situation, we have a but. Unfortunately, we do have a but. Since the energy sector is one of the few sectors that are able to combine investments, the creation of new jobs, research, development, related businesses, it is fundamental for us to ensure a relaunching of the whole sector, which is suffering, which means pushing on the realization and the modernization of energy infrastructure, which is needed for the production, transformation and transmission and distribution of energy. A recent study by Commissione Energia identified in 350 billion euros which should be invested. However, today, a large work in Italy takes about 16 years to be completed. 8 years are due to the bureaucracy-related inertia. So it is very urgent for us to simplify the authorization processes, otherwise it will not be possible to make investments. I will give you another example. The climate plan to bring the efficiency from 20 to 50 gigawatts by 2030. Obviously, for such a quality leap to be implemented, we need most of all big plants on the ground, not only on the rooftops, but we're going to have not more than 6 gigawatts extra installed instead of 30 megawatts indicated by the national plan. And I will draw to conclusions. I believe that the problems we are faced with require overcoming a traditional view when it comes to the regulatory framework. Too much time is needed to change rules in Italy. We need a shock, we need a revolution, otherwise the country runs the risk of moving towards a crisis which will be a tubular kind of crisis, a crisis which has no end, and no possibility to rebound, so to say. We need to carry out a real shock. We do have an example which is visible by everybody. We've dealt with this kind of example in our households. We've talked about it with our friends and on the social media. We have an example, that of the Morandi Bridge. The Morandi Bridge was built in a record time, and this shows that it is possible to reach important results in a short period of time. I think we should extend this kind of experience to other key sectors. I'm thinking about renewable energy sources. We need renewable energy sources. We need help. I'm thinking about the Italian harbors. I'm thinking about the 5G technology. All these aspects may help Italy recover. At the same time, we should also focus on the modernization of our bureaucracy and our regulations. We cannot wait any further. It's time to act. So we get back to the floor. There are many key words: vision, perspective, procedures, and a final hint on the ability to actually implement, propose and implement projects. So you deal with your engineering company with many of these aspects. So I would like to leave the floor to the next speaker for the contribution. I would like to start from the experience of the engineering company, Nier Ingegneria, I've contributed to establish. It is a company providing technical assistance on system engineering and sustainability. So we deal with topics which are related directly to the topics we're talking about. I would like to use our experience to get out of the danger of rhetoric. I would like to try and communicate how our work has been changing over the years. We started in the 1970s, where the word environment was not used at all. We talked about pollution, and the main approach was command and control. I tried to set out rules for the use of soil, the discharge and the emissions, and I tried to control the compliance with these limits. We started with this very reductive approach to the environmental topics. Then in the 1980s, a different approach started to be developed, a less sectoral approach, less specific approach, with the entry into force of European directives, for instance, that of the on the evaluation of environmental impact, or the so-called Seveso directive, and other procedures of this kind. So there was a widening of the approach, and we started to focus on the environment. The word environment started to be one of the topics of discussion. The directive of the on the evaluation of the environmental impact leads stakeholders to take part in the decision-making process. As debate started to focus not only on specific technical aspects. There was an attempt to take a more global responsibility vis-à-vis the issues related to the environment. Then another step forward was at the end of the 1980s with the sustainable development. There was an awareness back in the 1990s about the fact that the environmental issue, environmental topics, was seen as a system where all the aspects, discharges, emissions, are kept, but they were also put into relation with a more global approach. And back then, the future developments started, for instance, the conferences in Rio, in Kyoto, 25 conferences of this kind were held. So the issue spread at world level, and it really became one of the most debated topics. Considering my professional experience and the way we tackled these issues, then we became a sort of tired when it comes to the commitments you take, knowing from the beginning that it will be very, very difficult for you to stick to the commitments, and there's a clash between those who deny environmental problems and those who would like to take action now. And so we reached a stalemate despite the spreading of the interest on the topic of sustainability. I would like to read one sentence taken from a recent article written by Cardinal Scola, written on OSS during the pandemic, and he refers to the 5th anniversary of the publication of the Laudato Si encyclical letter, which is a sort of a snapshot of this tiredness situation. On the one hand, there is a very widespread stance, that of dominion, which relates to the environment according to a logic which we may define that of exploitation to the advantage of the current generation. On the other side, we have a sort of sacred consideration of the environment, proposing a cosmocentrism which in the end focuses on the equal dignity for all forms of life. Only if we overcome these two opposite stances will we be able to reach the best relationship with our planet. These two different stances are the perfect snapshot for the situation of tiredness I was mentioning. So it is a situation which is macroscopically identifiable, at least in my own experience, in the economic world and in civil society. However, we do have a novelty. There's a novelty which probably was not foreseen. 5 years ago, the Laudato Si document was published. According to many, it saved the Paris COP conference. This encyclical letter by the Pope may be defined in a way ambiguous. Is this a political document? Is it a set of scientific thesis? Is it a religious document? Well, it was something which was totally unforeseeable, not ideological, and it entered the world of sustainability. It gave new impetus to the word sustainability. The real novelty, I think, is that sustainability started to breathe again. Sustainability was given something more, which enabled it to get out of this stalemate. And our work as technicians also benefited from the Laudato Si encyclical letter. So what is the way in which Laudato Si relaunches sustainability, integral sustainability? The Holy Father did not focus on juxtapositions or ideological clashes. He tries to make a proposal in which there is a relation between everything. All the aspects are re-proposed in order to discover the profound links between things: economy, the natural environment, society. Three elements that had been included in the word sustainability, environmental, economic, and social sustainability. The Holy Father added the person, man, as a fourth element. All these factors make up a system in which we need to rediscover the links. We need to understand all the profound links between them. When Greta Thunberg screams, "You have stolen our future from us," she is explicitly referring to climate change, of course, but she is also referring to something else. She's referring to a steal, to a theft, to a lack of interest on the part of our generation. And we are taking away something fundamental from the future generations. And I'm referring to the relation between the man and nature, the relation between man and the sense of life, the lack of capability to recognize all these links is an underlying aspect of Greta's scream. So in a seemingly unrelated way, if you think about it, the relation between sustainability, environmental sustainability and the pandemic is not so obvious. However, we are hopefully moving out of the pandemic with a relaunch of sustainability, which is very strong. Integral sustainability is the element which can give an opportunity to question everything and to re-begin. We have lots of tools today available. We have the tools of the eco-design, life cycle assessment. We have plans for climate adaptation. We have the tools of the circular economy. We have countless rules, consolidated rules on the energy, on corporate liability. We have lots of methodologies and the technological tools available. However, there is something which we still need so that the new era starts to become visible. And I would like to mention one of the parts of the Laudato Si. We still don't have the necessary culture to face this crisis. And we need to build leaderships indicating the way to us. So we have lots of tools, lots of instruments, but what is lacking is a set of examples. We need experiences which clarify the pathway to be taken. So this culture which is needed to face the crisis, to face the transformation of society. This meeting, well, I have lots of expectations vis-a-vis this meeting, because the link between sustainability and subsidiarity is probably the key pathway to move towards a situation in which we have the necessary culture emerge in order to be able to tackle the crisis. So this meeting is launching a very timely kind of challenge. I would like to close by mentioning one experience linked to our work. In just 4 to 5 years, we've been witnessing the flourishing in many companies, either small businesses or large businesses, a demand of consistencies on the company's mission, which may influence visions. When it comes to sustainability, an important demand for an overall review is becoming more and more evident. Everything is interconnected. And this is a very interesting task. We need to be patient enough. Of course, you cannot do something overnight. We need to be patient, and we also need to be determined to continue working on this respect. I believe that the meeting, from this point of view, may provide a very important contribution. Thank you very much to Paolo Vestrucci.
Del dialogo, ma approfondendo.
Thank you very much. Now the turn goes to Massimo Bruno. He's an expert and he has been working in this field for many, many years. So I would like him to elaborate a bit on this respect. So please dwell a bit more on the topics that have been raised so far. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. So I'm going to be the last to speak, so it's easy to me because I can simply link up to some of the things that have already been said and that struck me specifically. I would like to thank Ermete for what he said about Enel and also about something he said about Italians, because we are always so, unsatisfied of ourselves. We always develop criticism about ourselves. We sometimes linger too much on the negative sides and not on the positive sides. Not many people know that Italy is the only country that has second-generation electric power meters. And we are really advanced because the meters are really high-tech. So again, we should have a better look at our positive aspects and so try to enhance them. Another key word I would like to go back to is vision. And what do I mean when I say vision? I think that we lack a common vision about the direction we want to take and the destination we want to reach. And that is mirrored in the extreme slow rhythm of bureaucracy. So again, maybe we could have done something better and seize this opportunity to streamline and speed up things. Otherwise, the energy plan will never be implemented. Because if a piece of legislation sets forth clearly objectives, but then you do not do anything to facilitate the achievement of those goals, well, that means that there is a lack of a common vision. And unfortunately, this is quite common in Italy. We are at the forefront. We are smart. We have cutting-edge realities. But then when it comes to developing a vision, well, we just miss out. So we are not able to capitalize on that. And well, let's go back now to another topic, that is supply chains that create systems. Because again, Italy is going through times of change, and if I consider the energy transition, we are quite ahead of times, also as Enel company. But then, if this transition is not sustained and supported and accompanied by other measures that needs to be made by institutions and other entities and players, then we risk to develop a rather high level of social and economic imbalance that may lead to issues that could hinder the transformation and its completion. Because as Ermete said about Trump, went to miners in Minnesota and said, okay, you will not make your own living any longer if renewable energies are going to take over. So that's how we gained votes. But of course, if you somehow have people thinking such things, it's hard to promote the energy transition. And in Italy, we have the automotive supply chain, and the automotive sector is very strong. And we do apologize, but we are experiencing a very, very sort of unexpected technical issue. So we wait for Massimo Bruno to reconnect with us. And I seized the opportunity to introduce another question. So we got a question from the chat that was open on YouTube. And this is a question that somehow I do share. So I'm really happy to ask this question to our guests. So what do our guests suggest and propose in terms of actions geared to promoting awareness when it comes to promoting green economy? So education is really, really important, and Professor Draghi said it very clearly yesterday. And again, this is a key topic for us as a meeting. So now I would like to ask this question to our guests, and maybe I will start from Brun. So Mr. Brun, what do you think about this? Well, so let's try to take advantage of your presence. Well, it's something I thought about yesterday. I'm on a holiday with my family, and I must say that I eardropped a discussion not far from me yesterday, and there was a person talking to another one. The one said, well, in September, thanks to the 110% incentive for green energy measures, is going to install the solar panels. And so I was telling this, but at the same time, he was smoking a cigarette, and then He simply sort of threw the maggot on the beach. Okay, let's take this simple fact and let's say very clearly that if people do not understand what it means to fulfill with one's own duties, to be, the first protectors of our common good, well, what are we talking about then? We need to protect our common good. This is our top priority because the world belongs to everybody, nature belongs to everybody. So if we do not fully understand the implications and the need to change our own behaviors, if we do not understand that citizens and companies, we have to change their habits and their behaviors, and that the cost will be shared. And then I personally went to this person and said, could you please take up the maggot that you threw on the sand? Because, it's about doing our little thing every day, giving our contribution. And then I think that there would be no need of education. Such behaviors would become natural and spontaneous, and people would simply do some certain things normally and spontaneously because everybody would understand automatically what should be done. Thank you very much. And Ermete, it's your turn. Well, personally, I think that many things changed already, and then we always need to start from our own reality. Personally, I hope that the so-called greater generation will continue fighting, but this generation needs answers, doesn't need to be cherished or somehow have some form of consolation. It's about getting clear answers. Sometimes this generation is even mocked of, and I think about Greta Thunberg once again. She came to the Senate and she made a speech, and during that week a specific resolution about ecological issues was rejected by the Senate. So let's try to avoid these contradictory behaviors. I do agree about what Vestrucci said about the Paris Agreement, and probably it's a very sort of clear economic analysis also in terms of possible solutions. And today there are key factors to be considered. Responsibility, first of all, because we always try to blame somebody else. It's a sort of common game. We always need to blame somebody else. But this is not the case. Again, we have a problem, but I think that in Italy we have so many, good things already. I know that Zamagni loves this topic. If we talk about these issues, I think that Italy is at the forefront. But again, it's about complying with one's own responsibility. This is a key component of subsidiarity because, okay, let's talk about renewable energy sources, but then if people just oppose that, what's the point? Well, I'll make an example that has to do with Rimini. Manuele, there is now a large front against a wind park at high sea on the Adriatic coast. So we need to act. A superintendency blocked a wind park in front of the Ilva for landscape-related reasons. What's the point of that? It's totally reasonless as an attitude. And I think that in that case, the problem is not a wind park at sea, but there's much more somewhere else. So again, we need a common vision. And personally, I do think that we should go back to something else. Kennedy, 1962, a little bit more than 50 years ago, and then on 69 man landed on the moon. So in 62, Kennedy made a speech that many people consider as visionary. Oh yes, Americans will land on the moon. And many people thought that Kennedy was visionary or drunk somehow, sort of. But instead, they made it. They made it. Why? Because technological and economic resources were invested, but also because there was a certain American attitude. So let's try to think similarly. We are facing a situation that is going to be critical for our future and also for the end of the crisis. So we really need to understand that we can win this game, but if we take up our own responsibility, we should not blame anybody else. I think we should somehow again take up our responsibility with everybody's contribution. So in the meantime, Massimo Bruno is online again. So Massimo, while you were trying to connect again, we have continued our conversation and we shared a question asked by the audience to our guests, asking you specifically possible compelling action that could and should be made in order to favor a sort of awareness-raising movement for the move to a green economy. So I would like to have a final remark on this and then go back the word to Massimo. So I do share what the previous speakers said, and in particular what Ermete said. So when it comes to the green economy education, I think that many things could be done from corporate top management down to the bottom level, so the workers, and it is possible to envisage actions and measures somehow spreading out a word about integral sustainability and applying that to cooperation. So eco-design, mission, division, down to maintenance tasks. It is possible. The tools are immense. So there's a wide range of things that can be used. To me, what is most important is to have a top-down approach stemming from some sort of persuasion and conviction and going down to all the levels. But again, really, this is an educational issue. Thank you very much. And now the final word goes to Massimo, so that you can somehow elaborate on this very last point. We do apologize, but okay. Sound was gone, now it's back. Thank you very much. I got the question and I answer straight away. Well, at least in companies like ours, we have already developed a sustainable driven approach. Everything needs to be sustainability oriented, including investments. In 2019, we also launched the green bonds related to the achievement of the Agenda 2030 goals. So we strongly believe in that. When it comes to how doing that in order to avoid the so-called green extremism, well, we should develop a common vision that is commonly shared by a company and its collaborators and its managers, but also with the outside, because a company is an ecosystem that is surrounded by a larger environment. So we need to somehow exchange with local communities, local stakeholders, and our sustainability concept matches the concept that these entities have. But again, sometimes it is also up to us to simply take the time to explain things better and not try to use just and simply the buzzword sustainability, because then everybody can say, oh yes, I come from the oil and energy sector. When the green fuel was released, everybody thought that it was green because it was clean. Well, no, it was because of the color. So let's try to use sustainability in a consistent way. So this is up to us, managers, communicators, politicians like Ermete. We need to use the word sustainability in the right way according to its real meaning, and also we should try to do our best to talk with our reference interlocutors from municipalities to environmentalist associations, trying to find some common ground. And again, let's try to be quick and to stick to the allotted time. And again, Ermete and the Recovery Fund. So the COVID crisis has started a transformation process that won't certainly stop and end easily. But we are faced with great opportunities, but we need to be able to make the most of that. We need to be able to make the most of these funds. And I joined some groups and committees as representative of a company, and I must confess that I perceived some sort of confusion. And we need again to develop a common vision about what we really want to do. Otherwise, we will simply waste time. So investments that could really prove to be useful to local communities, and also other things that could be done to reach this transitional period goals, risk simply not to be carried out, and so we risk to miss out, and this is the real issue. So I know that other European countries are not that better than us, apart from Germany. This is always far ahead, but all the other Mediterranean countries are not much better off than us. But again, we need to delve more into the subject and try to understand the real objectives, and then try to push as much as we can, trying to cut the bureaucracy, reduce the level of red tape, because sometimes it has negative repercussions on investments. And we do apologize, but there is again a technical issue with the connection of this guest. Let's wait just a few seconds. We are afraid that it won't be possible to get him back. Maybe, well, certainly we'll have the opportunity to go back to this. Well, technology is always very useful, and technology let us keep our dialogue open, and so we will keep on discussing during the next days of the meeting. Yesterday we had the very first one, and we're going to keep talking and exchanging until Sunday. So we simply raised and opened up so many issues. Some of them are very deep and interesting. I would like then to be able to go back to that and keep talking always once the meeting will be over. So thank you very much for your interesting contribution. I think that very interesting contents were mentioned. So to sum up, I would like to thank our guests, and I remind you that what you saw on so many meeting website pages is a small red heart. That means that you can donate to contribute and to support the meeting. So this is a very special edition, and we're very happy for that, but certainly the economic commitment is quite meaningful. I thank my guests from Vestrucci that is here with me, and Realacci, Brun, and also Massimo Bruno, who is not connected any longer, and I'm convinced that is going to return our greetings. Thank you very much, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Da 170 anni noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti investiamo il risparmio degli italiani nel domani del Paese. Noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti siamo con l'Italia, oggi più che mai.
Ehi, impara dal passato. Decidi dove andare. Apri quella porta. Accendi il tuo motore. Allaccia la cintura. Stringiti al volante. E vieni via con me.
Da 170 anni noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti investiamo il risparmio degli italiani nel domani del Paese. Noi di Cassa Depositi e Prestiti siamo con l'Italia, oggi più che mai.
Ehi, impara dal passato. Decidi dove andare. Apri quella porta. Accendi il tuo motore. Allaccia la cintura. Stringiti al volante. E vieni via con me.